Yeah, so if you can't tell, I'm kind of excited for Tactics that's going to be coming out for Gears. Actually, more than 5 even. I'm more excited for Tactics than 5. And the reason for that is because Tactics is something new. And I know this sounds like I'm talking about last week where I'm like, we don't understand. Gears 5 is going to be a new game. No, like, Tactics is already, we know it's going to be a tactical strategy game. We already know it's going to be different. We know that there's a difference to it. You know, unlike 5, where we need some news to know what's going on, we already know with Tactics, it's going to be different. It's going to be real-time strategy, stuff like that. And the reason I was holding these two up is pretty much because these two are probably my favorite types of games in the genre. I'll see if I can't get them up if you couldn't see them well, but I got Halo Wars and XCOM. I enjoy these two. And when I sit down and think about it, Tactics is probably going to play a lot more than like XCOM than Wars. And the reason I hold up Wars is because, little side note here before we actually get into some stuff. You notice that Gears has been following the same pattern as, what's it called? Halo. I just said Halo. I don't know why I messed that one up. It's followed the same pattern as Gears as of late. I mean, Gears has followed the same as Halo. I'm going to get those two mixed up this entire time. And what I mean by that is, you know, we have an original trilogy with Halo, original trilogy with Gears. We have Halo Wars, which is a strategy game. We're getting Tactics, which is now a strategy game for Gears. 4 was considered pretty good for each game with a vitalized new trilogy. And kind of jumping into last week's video when I talked about how I was fearful for 5, Gears 5... Halo 5 was not considered the greatest thing ever made by man. In fact, not really that good. People didn't like. That's why I worry about 5, because you notice that there is a pattern going on here. They're kind of following each other's footsteps. But that's a side tangent for another day. I could make a video all about that. Anyway, yeah. Tactics is going to be fun because it goes back to the Locust, pretty much the era of the Locust. I think it said it takes place maybe a year after E-Day, which if it's right, that means like the Locust are still very prevalent and very much a problem. Not saying they weren't a problem throughout all the years, even 10 years later when we follow the ROM DLC in 3. The Locusts are still a very real, very, very large problem. But we're going back to the time when Retro Lancers were still the only thing, not just a thing, the only thing. And if you've read the books, you know that the reason the Retro Lancers were changed out was because of the fact that the blades at the end, the bayonets, they kept getting snapped off or broken off because the hide on the Locust were so thick. Yeah, you can get them in. Multiplayer has someone right. You know, their guts are pretty soft, and if you get them at a certain point, kind of going upwards into the back, kind of. But when it comes to like their legs and arms, the back of their necks and everything, that's solid. You can't get through that kind of stuff. Which is kind of funny when you see the multiplayer when they just lob their heads off. It's like, is that really right? Who knows? But that's the thing. We're going back to like the old school Gears stuff. You know, the old school tech before we got the chainsaw lancers. Before we had, well, we already had Hammer of Dawn, but it wasn't as, I want to say it wasn't that big of an option. Because at first, they didn't use the Hammer of Dawn that much because they're like, this is going to destroy cities. This is a weapon of mass destruction. We can't just be using it willy-nilly. But by the time you get to like when Marcus came back from prison and everything, it was more like, yeah, we kind of need to use this. Especially when they started leveling cities. You kind of need to start using it. So that's why I'm kind of interested. And if you read the comics too, and I know I'm mentioning all these different things, it's all going to tie together. Don't worry, I'm getting there. If you look at all of these different medias, especially the comics with Rise of Rom, you'll see that there was a scientist, and this scientist, he was looking into things. He was making newer models or versions of Locust, you could say. He was working on that kind of stuff. And I remember when they first announced Tactics, they mentioned like, oh, they're going to take on this this creature that's new to the Locust, not new to the Locust, but I can't even think of how they explained it. It was something to do with something that's creating enemies or something of that nature they mentioned. I'll probably put something down here to say what I'm talking about. But they put that out there and people made the connection to the doctor or the scientist that was in the Locust because Rise of Rom came out, we got the Tactics announcement, it kind of syncs up. I'm okay with that. I think that's a good idea if that's what's going to be in Tactics. He's like the main threat and he created this like all hell scary monstrosity type of thing. Like, he crossed a berserker with a brumok, and he created like the deadliest thing you can possibly imagine. I don't know what I'm doing here, but imagine that. That's what he just unleashed and created. That's the final boss. And I'd be okay with that. I think maybe splicing some other things together, because the Ragers are around. You can put a Rager into there and like have a second tier to the boss fight where it just beefs out. That'd be nice. And again, it's the Locust we're talking about, so we get to learn more stuff about them. This is the early days of the Locust War, and that's another good thing. We get to follow characters I don't think we've heard of before, which I'm a fan of. Because I'm happy we get to follow Marcus. You know, at one point we follow Baird. We follow Zeta Team. I'm happy we followed those guys, and we're following, Kate and JD right now. But when it comes to the Locust stuff, I was a big fan of the idea of what is everyone else doing? Because you kind of get that here and there. In the comics, you follow Jace a bit. You see that he was on like a secretive kind of mission, and he came across Rom quite a bit in his life before Rom actually died. Let's see, who else? We don't have a lot of side stories. We had this one person we follow. I'll probably put his name down here again. It was his story about when he was captured by the Locust and escaping, and he wanted to see the surface again. That was another story we followed, and we don't really get a lot of those other stories. That's what I'm kind of excited to see. We get to follow the stories of people who aren't the main characters of the franchise. We get to follow this new squadron of guys going out and going against the Locusts. I'm guessing it's going to play kind of Halo War style, because of the fact that in Halo Wars, you got to create your troops and send your troops out and everything, but your troops could easily die. The only people that really couldn't die were like the main characters, or the main ones that you could throw around, So I think it's going to play like that. I think there's going to be like your main squadron of characters that are named and you're going to follow through the game. They're probably going to stick around through the entire game. Unless they go like XCOM, where it doesn't matter what your name is or who you are, you're going to die. If you die, you're dead, you're gone. That's how it works. And I'd be fine with that. I think it's going to probably be a mesh, but more like Wars, because of the fact that you're going to have these named characters, right? It's kind of dumb if they all died in the first chapter, they're all gone and dead. It doesn't really make sense that that's going to be the end of it all. Like, oh, these characters we were going to follow, they're gone now. Done. Finished. That's just like the main cast. We're going to get cameos. Marcus is probably going to come over a speaker once, just like, hey, we need help here, like what they did in Judgment. I'd really like if they bring back some characters that we know are gone right now. Imagine if Ty just comes out of nowhere, or Ty for some reason is a part of the current group. I would like that, because we get a lot of Ty out of the books. We get a decent amount of him out of the comics. We get him in 2. But obviously that's it. Oh, wait, no. We get him in the ROM DLC in 3. That was okay. He was mostly just there to be there. But I want some more Ty. I was never the largest Ty fan, but I'll admit, like, game-wise, Ty needs to come back and do some more things. Because we don't get a lot of Ty, really, at all. Who else could we have? We could have Kim. Have Kim in Tactics. That makes sense. Because they were both Zeta. I mean, imagine them talking back and forth about the old Zeta days. Barrick you could probably have. He didn't die until later on, I think, like 10 to 12 years after the Locust. Or maybe it was 14. It was when Marcus was finally out of prison. You could have, Marcus and Dom. They could be around. Baird and Cole. I think after Judgment, people have had their fill of them. I think we could live without seeing Baird or Cole in the game. Although I would like to see them. We could have, what if it's different? Like, you come across different squads other than just Delta Squad. You have, like, maybe Zeta Squad would still be around, and they were around for a while longer than we thought. Have Zeta Squad show up again. You could have the new squad we're probably going to get. Scorpio from Hivebusters, that's not going to be a thing, because they're around during the not the Locust, the Swarm. Who else could we possibly have in that one if they were to appear? We could have... Prescott's probably going to be in charge and barking orders. No, wait, no. Prescott wasn't the chairman yet at that point, I don't think. I think it was a few years before he became chairman. So Prescott, we know he served for about a year as a gear, but I think that was during the Pendulum Wars. So I mean, if you can think of more named characters, we might get the unknown final Carmine we've been wondering. D might make his appearance. William, no, William would be dead by then because Rom took care of him during E-Day. We're not getting William. Franco, we could get mention of because he was a reporter. So if Franco's still alive, we could get mention of Franco Carmine as the reporter. Gary's not around yet. Clay, we don't exactly know when he first started as a gear. We could see Private Clay Carmine as like in 3, you know, for the multiplayer, he's got like the normal attire on. We could see him there. That'd be nice. Yeah, this is more like a rambling like the last one because that worked well enough. So I thought I'd just continue off with what I did, just go off spontaneously, no notes, just my thoughts. I think it's working well enough for these types of videos. So we went over the characters, what it's going to feel like. Again, it's probably going to play really XCOM-ish, but kind of have like an aesthetic that's kind of like Wars to it. I think that works out well for the game itself, especially since this is new territory. We have Gears Pop, which is obviously new territory too, but that's a mobile game, and you're pretty much just playing that off time. It has a 4 feel to it with the loot box system and everything. Well, you could say like with the Overwatch system too. But with Tactics, it's really feeling more like this is going to be a straightforward experience, you know? It's going to be something. Now, I hope it is XCOM, like it has an XCOM style to it too. Like, oh, there are these 2 different areas you can go across the entire globe to fight off the Locust. Are you going to do this or this? You know, do you want to research this, look into this, your gears can upgrade to this. I hope they do that too. And I know that the Coalition has stated that fun takes over story or canon-wise. So, you know there's going to be the Mark II Lancer. They're going to throw that one in there. Now, as to if it's going to be thrown in there right away, if it's just a normal weapon, I don't know. They could do something like, we're going to research into the Lancers, and we're going to see what we can get out of that. And that's how Marcus Phoenix develops the Mark II. Although I think it could have been like 10 years later, he finally got the retros going. The Mark IIs. I keep wanting to say retros and all that because there's a bunch of different terminology for the Lancers, especially with 5 now, Gears 5. We're going to have a Mark III Lancer apparently. But yeah, that's mostly just my thoughts on everything right now for what Tactics is going to be like. I'm excited for it. I don't really have any hesitant feelings towards this. The only hesitant feelings I would have is if they're going to follow in Halo's footsteps and just do what they've been doing. I mean, I understand Wars came out a lot earlier than, you know, than Tactics is going to be, but you know, we still have we haven't really had a mold breaker for Gears yet for a game styling where it's like, haha, here's our brand new spanking thing no other franchise has done like we're about to do, because we really haven't gotten that yet. Yeah, 5 is going to be a bit different, but it's still continuing off the Gears feel and format. That's the thing. Tactics, I'm excited for it, but it's going to be somewhat like Wars, and we've had that with a franchise already. Now, if we came out with something that was like, I don't know, first-person view Doom style, that'd be new. We haven't done that with a game yet with any of those 2 franchises. And I know I'm just comparing these 2, but I am because they're really following one another. So I'm going off of my rambles again when I run out of things to talk about. Thank you for watching. I might do one more thought video on something else. I don't know yet. I might put a poll up on Twitter. Thank you guys again. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. I'll probably have a poll up. Just follow our polls. That's normally going to tell you what the next video is going to be. So you guys have a great one. I am going to go and probably pop one of these 2 back in again because they have a lot of replay value and they're great games. So you guys have a great one. Bye-bye.